DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool. Hey everybody, welcome to another Wednesday night here at Music and Mixing. As you see, I'm not by myself tonight. I have brought guests with me, not just a single guest, but two guests. Now, those of you who kind of watch this, you know the one guy, John, he is the head of Disc Jockey News. John, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I'm doing very well.
And the other person we have here, I got the chance to DJ with at the Expo. He's kind of getting a little bit of a reputation of DJing. He's a younger DJ, and it's kind of why we brought him on here tonight for his perspective on things. John, that is your son, Michael. Michael Young, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well.
Thank you for joining us. I kind of, the title of the show was Old DJ versus Young DJ, and since both you guys are named Young, I should have labeled it Old DJ versus Young DJs.
DJs, plural. Thank you.
I don't know if anybody would ever get that joke.
Probably not.
For those in the chat room, I kind of did a prodding poke at the beginning just to kind of rattle you up. But tonight's show, for those of you who watch often, I switch it a lot of times between working on the decks and working on here. The whole show is kind of about the mix DJ. And there's some things that have happened recently that I kind of want to address. And I wanted to get perspective of DJs from different ages because we're all kind of in the same business. And I kind of want to get everybody, if we can, bridge the gap on some of these things, and that's the purpose for tonight. It's those of you who maybe saw the title would think that it was going to be a DJ battle between old and young, and I did that on again purposely to hopefully you would tune in, but there will be no DJ battling tonight. There will just be opinions. And if you have questions in the chat, feel free to drop them. Since I'm not, have the deck in front of me and 20 cameras, I am able to watch the chat tonight and answer some questions. And we got some great topics that we're going to talk about. And I have some inside information on some stuff that I think you guys are going to be excited about. So with that said, are you guys ready to begin?
Let's do it.
Okay. What kind of threw me into this is something that was brought back to Serato DJ that was there before, that has always been a part of virtual and always been a part of algorithm and stuff. And it's something that I think is going to be a normal part of the future with DJs. And this is one of the things that I think a lot of people kind of get upset about, whether it be the scratch DJs, the club DJs, or the wedding DJs or whatever. I think this is a great place to start because it's something that I think is just a part of everybody. And that's streaming music while you're DJing through the app that you're DJing through. And we got an announcement directly straight from Serato. And I actually, just right before we went live, caught another post by Serato. So all this information is from them. It's not speculation. It's not anything like that. They will be coming out with Serato 2.1. As you remember, about a year ago, we did the 2.0. This is 2.1. And prior to 2.0, they had the ability to stream songs without leaving the Serato program through Pulse Locker. And then Pulse Locker died. The company just went under. They were bought by somebody else recently now, and I can't remember who. I can quote it to you if I can remember, but I probably won't. But they were bought out, and they're kind of maybe coming back in the future. I'm not sure. But Serato announced that in this next release of Serato 2.1, they will not only have streaming from the streaming service Tidal, which if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like Serato in itself. And also, and this is important for the younger DJs because the older guys don't really pay attention to this, but the younger DJs, you'll be able to stream straight from SoundCloud. So if you have an artist on SoundCloud that you like and follow and their music is only on SoundCloud, you'll be able to stream through Serato out to your DJ crowd directly from SoundCloud. And I think that's one of the futures of it. Like I said, as you know, I'm a big fan of Virtual. Virtual has their own service called Content Unlimited through iDJ. And they also let you DJ through Deezer, which is exactly like Spotify. It's out of France. It actually has less subscribers, but more music. It's kind of weird how all that works. But Algorithm DJ can actually use Spotify because they were made by the same company. So that's why they kind of hold them together there. But I think with Serato taking a big grab on this new streaming ability and picking SoundCloud and Tidal, I think this is really going to become more of a norm in the business. First, I want to start with John and Michael and ask you, in any program at a live gig, have you streamed a song through the software that you're DJing from?
Yes, I have, but it's been with the iPad, and it was the iPad doing a DJ app, and I was using Spotify to do some background music after I had shut down my main system, and I wanted to have some music that was going basically loud enough to keep the intoxicated people around the room quiet. So I put the...
Did you have any problems with it when you did it?
No. We had a good solid connection, and the playlist was a one that I had selected, and it just went and did its thing. Right, but it was right from the Spotify. It wasn't any of the songs that I had downloaded. So that
now, if I'm correct, Michael, you were at a school dance a while back or something where they had hired a kid DJ, or John was telling me, I'm not sure, who spun the whole night that way. Was that just a story that you guys saw, or someone that you heard it about?
Yeah, no, that was a high schooler, and they just had Spotify Premium, and that's how they just did the entire dance
directly. No DJ software, Spotify's own program or app on their device, and did the whole dance that way.
Yeah, they had the laptop, they had the mixer, and that was it.
How did the crowd react to that?
Actually, it was a pretty big dance. A lot of people showed up to that, actually, just because it was him DJing it.
Okay, so there became a following there, not necessarily, that it wasn't what he used, which we're going to get into tonight, because that's one of the topics we're going to cover here in a bit. It was him and what he presented. Yeah,
it was part of the high school fundraiser, so a lot of people showed up for it.
So I can tell you from someone who uses the Deezer in Virtual all the time, and I don't mean that I use it every song. I use it as something, if I'm out somewhere and somebody asks me for something, and it's something that probably would play but don't have, I don't have to leave the program and play it. I was at a place a few weeks ago. It was a bar, and a guy and his girl, he had just proposed that night, and she comes over and she goes, "Do you have such and such a song?" Now, I can't remember what it was, and I'm like, "No, I don't know that. What is it? Is it country? Is it rock? I can't tell." She goes, "It's kind of like alternative, kind of like Matchbox 20 or something like that," and never heard of it. So I went on to Deezer. It was there, just drag and dropped on, listened to it. I'm like, oh, this is definitely something I would play here. It's a bar kind of song.
Sure. And
right before I said, hey, I'd like to, this goes out to the couple sitting over there in the booth. She said yes. And I pressed play, and everybody went crazy, and they stood up, and it just became this celebration because I was able to get a song that I didn't have. Now, all of these, I've the ones with Virtual, is soon as you drag the song and drop it, you'll see it load the waveform. Okay? And as soon as that waveform's loaded, even if you lose connection right then, you can play the whole song. And you can also in them cache them for an entire month. So you can go online, download all the songs you want to cache, and hold them there, and you don't have to log on or go online for a month to still play those songs all month. And after the month, you have to log on at least once a month to show that you're still a subscriber. Mm-hmm. From what I'm understanding about the Serato one with SoundCloud and Tidal, you have to have a connection.
Yeah, I don't think there's any
the same as load the whole song, but you can't just load the whole song and shut it off and be done. It will play that one song, but it won't be there again for you if you're offline from then on. It doesn't cache them in there. From what I understand, I don't know if that's 100% there. But I believe, I'm a firm believer in curating your own library. I talk about it all the time, but the streaming thing as a backup, I think, is freaking awesome on a lot of levels. But when Virtual lost Spotify, so many people whine going, what am I supposed to do? I lost all my songs, all my playlists. They had totally 100% relied on that. And it wasn't that Spotify went away. It was that they no longer had access to it. And that was one of the things that, what's his name from Digital DJ Tips, Phil said. He goes, we all know Tidal is like, and it may be gone in 5 years.
Yeah.
So if you build a full playlist off of that, that might be there. Each one of you guys, how would you feel about, in what percentage do you feel comfortable with downloaded songs versus streaming songs would you use on a regular basis? What do you think, Michael?
Well, for DJing, it might be a little different because I know that the music that I listen to is all streamed. But for DJing, I feel like having it on a hard drive that is downloaded, because I feel that sometimes Wi-Fi isn't always 100% promised. And if you don't have Wi-Fi, then how are you supposed to stream?
Right.
And I think another thing, Michael, just from watching what you do, one of your mentors in the DJ industry likes to set a lot of cue points for his music, and you have been setting a lot of cue points for your music. And I've heard times when all of a sudden your cue points don't show up that you're not happy.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big issue with some of the things is that if you're streaming it, you're not going to get the same. The cue points aren't going to be there with some situations.
Cache, at least on the virtual side, if you cache it, you can.
Okay.
Like I said, the Serato one, it seems to be different from what they're saying. Again, from what I'm on, this is my. I've got some inside information on this that I'm not going to share very much. But if you look at last year when they come out with the 2.0, they then released it to the public around NAMM time, and that's the same point we're at right now. Same time of year they're talking about the next 2.1 with all these things. So I'm guessing we'll see that around NAMM time. So we're not far. If this isn't something we're going to look at 3 years down the road, this is something that's coming soon. But I want to take now a look at the separation of generations. John, how many different types of medium do you own of music?
Let's see.
Rattle them all off.
Okay, so I had 8-track, obviously cassettes, CDs, vinyl, MP3 that were purchased, and then I've got mini disc. I bought music on mini disc, laser disc, DVD. I guess a music video on DVD, music videos on VHS. I think that might be pretty much it. I think I've covered my bases.
Okay, Michael, not as a DJ, but what's the average person your age? How many of those do you think do they own music, or is the majority of them streaming their music? Is there anybody that doesn't own anything? I guess I'm kind of looking at it that way.
Yeah. A lot of people just stream it. No one, like as far as my peers and everyone at school, I feel like none of them own more than 5 MP3s, and that's because they bought them in 2012.
Which is a long time ago in that world.
So
yeah,
in 2012, you were probably what?
Let's see, that's 7,
8, 9, 10, in that ballpark.
Yeah.
6
For
years.
those of you who don't know, he Michael's 15, so that's why I kind of wanted to bring him on, because he's the other end of the spectrum of the guys that are coming up. You know, he's out there right now DJing school dances and things. Like I said, he DJ'd in the Denon's booth this year at the DJ Expo. These are people who are going to be part of your world, whether you like it or not, older DJs, whether it be a club DJ or moving into the wedding scene or whatever. They're coming, and these are the tools they're going to have. So this is what I'm talking about. That I believe in again, I'm old, and I'm not going to tell how old because I'm old. But I really embrace technology and always have. But so many people 10, 20 years younger than me do not embrace it and fight it. I believe that your generation is going to step into this, Michael, more than the generation that's 10 years older than you, the 25-year-olds, the 35-year-olds. Would you think that at least people that you know that kind of go, what do you mean you don't own a song?
I think you're going to have some that are getting into it at their age. But I think an angle I want to take, Michael, how many kids see what you've been doing with the DJ thing, and how many of them are like, oh my gosh, that's cool, I'd love to do that? Or how many of them are like, wow, that's cool, I have no interest in doing it, but I like watching someone else do it?
Yeah, I've had a lot of both. I've had people come up and they'd be like, "That's a lot of buttons. I could never do something like that." And people like to see the flashing lights, and I feel that a lot of them just don't think that they could if they tried. I guess I'm not sure. I guess
Right.
because it looks so intimidating if you don't understand what's going on.
And that, I think, yeah, and I think there's a difference between that when you're out there doing it now and when we were doing it in the early days, is that people would come up and say, "This is a great job. I want to do this." And after they set their beer down 2 months later, they had gotten themselves into the business and they were doing the thing. So it's I think that it's an interesting dynamic. It's easier to get in because of streaming and music piracy, we'll call it, for lack of a better way to describe it. Gear is cheaper, so the entry is not that difficult. But you've got young people who are looking at it and saying, "You know what? I'd rather spend my Saturday night doing something else instead of DJing." So it's really an interesting dynamic. You're seeing more people getting into it that are 25 and over. I just was looking at a wedding chat board today where they talk on the local wedding boards here on Facebook, and somebody did the in search of a DJ. So I'm looking and going down the list to check all these different DJs, and there wasn't a single DJ mentioned that was under the age of, well, probably the youngest was a gal under probably about 25. Most of the people were 35 and over. And these are people who I looked and they just starting it. They haven't been doing this for 30 years like I have. So it's an interesting time.
Like, because this shows a lot about the mixed DJ. It's norm for guys. I mean, there was just a movie put out called What We Started, and it was the older generation. And when I say older, I'm talking like the 30-year-olds looking at like the Martin Garrix, who became an incredible platinum superstar at age 17. And there's a whole generation going DJing at the festivals that, like, if you go to those big festivals, there's no DJ there over 30. And that's kind of also what I want to look at this show too. I think the technology with the getting Wi-Fi contact, because it doesn't necessarily have to be Wi-Fi, it can be a connection with your phone. And how many of us now get unlimited contact on our phone that we can just then tether it and go from there. So we're never without a connection, which is why I think when I did the show about bridging the gap, I want to bridge the gap for the older people and encourage them to try this. Mm-hmm. You don't have to rely on it, but try it. If we were to tell somebody, because I know I can talk to someone and tell them about giving it a try, how would you guys look at it? If Michael, if you had an older DJ that said, "Do you really stream stuff?" What would you kind of say to them, and how would you say it's an advantage, or would you just go, "What do you mean everybody's doing it?" Or like, what do you think you would come to mind on that?
Oh gosh, streaming is, I feel it's it's really tough to explain. Any song that I want to listen to, I can search and play, and I don't have to worry about if I own it or not, and I don't have to worry about having to pay for it outside of the subscription. Like it's just all right there. It's at my fingertips, whether I own it or not. And I feel like that is, I definitely prefer that more on like the personal, like listening side of it for the daily listening music. DJing though, I probably wouldn't do something like that. But I think that there's nothing wrong with streaming.
And this is the interesting thing is that I would be much more comfortable streaming, because I know when I can see the songs fully loaded, I'm good, and I know that I'm looking for that. I'm not as Michael's doing overlaying songs and doing his beat mixing and getting things lined up and such at a high, and I'm the one that's like, oh, that song's going from that to that, and that's just going to be a train wreck. Well, hey everybody, and then you go to the next song. I'm okay with that kind of stuff. So it's interesting. I think you're seeing a difference in mixing styles between the two of us, where I'm okay with that. If the song dies in the middle of it, big deal. Whoops, that didn't work out right. I'm okay with that. So it's an interesting dynamic.
I want to throw something out there for the people in the chat talking about cell service. I live within the city of Pittsburgh and DJ both in the city and outside of the city. And I have Xfinity Wi-Fi, Xfinity internet here at home. And there isn't hardly a place that I go to in the city or outside the city where I can't connect to the Xfinity straight from my computer, let alone bars and stuff that are nearby that have it open to the public, plus it on my phone. And that's I pretty much don't ever, my great English.
Yes, you're doing well.
I almost never don't have Wi-Fi connection. So, and there's people in the chat room going, oh, but that's not me. I live in this area. It's terrible service. But keep in mind this, that 50% of every American lives within a 1 hour radius of a major metropolitan city. So half the DJs already aren't even going to hesitate. It's going to be a normal part of their life. They're always going to have connections.
And with the 2019, 2020 5G coming out, and the talk with 5G is that they're going to be putting these little hotspots everywhere on every corner. So you're not going to have spots that this conversation in 3 years is going to be like electricity was talked about in the 50s and 60s. Yeah. Oh, I'm not going to buy lights. We don't have we're in a rural area. There's no electricity out there. Well, you know what? My electricity out here is probably more reliable now than, some East Coast cities that have different things going on. Times change. The whole, MJ, let's take a quick little break and then bounce back here.
Okay. And we are back. Again, we want to thank our sponsors for being a part of this. If you guys would like to go visit our sponsors, they're all in the show notes below. There's links to them. Go visit them, click on them, tell them you saw them on this show, that sort of thing. If you want to sponsor us, we are more than happy to accept your sponsorship. One of the things that I want to, because we have other topics to get through, but the streaming, to me, it's a moot point. Like I said, I'm trying to get the older guys to accept that this is a normal part of life, because to me, it is a normal part of life. I have not played a CD in my car or in the house in over 10 years. So everything I've listened to before there was a streaming service like Spotify, I could go to digitalyimported.com or di.com and listen through my phone, through the cell service, through the web page, or on my computer. I have not, if I wasn't a DJ, I wouldn't own a song, because everything is out there now. There's a large portion of the audience who is listening to music just through YouTube and nothing else, free through YouTube. So it's growing. I had a place I DJ'd at probably 6 months ago. A kid come up and asked for a song. I'm like, never heard of that song. So me being, yay, I have the internet, I'm going to look for it, typed it in, couldn't find it. I'm like, I can't find this song, and I'm looking online. And he's like, yeah, it's real big on SoundCloud. And I'm like, oh. So I went to SoundCloud, and this guy had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of plays on his song. And it was that popular. But because it didn't reach anywhere else but Spotify at that time, nobody really knew it. But like I said, there are countless people out there making music and putting it up on SoundCloud, and it's getting plays like you wouldn't even believe. I understand, Michael, you've made some music and put it up on SoundCloud. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And you've had people that you didn't think would find it, found it.
Yeah.
Where does that give you an audience? Because here's my experience with that I thought was pretty amazing. This was 10 years ago, or whenever SoundCloud first came out. It wasn't 10 years ago, but I put up a mix on there, and within, I don't know how much time, the mix got listened to 1,000 times. And I thought about 10 years before, let's just say 2005, when I was touring and I was at the big expos for the music and the showcases. And if I would have had a CD of that, I couldn't have given away 1,000 CDs, let alone have 1,000 people actually listen to it. So that gave me an audience that I never could have What is that like for a single song like that for you in your world now, where it's much bigger than it was back then?
Oh gosh, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. So pretty much what you're saying is how different. I guess I don't completely understand the question.
Because you make a song before SoundCloud, you didn't have much option but to put it on. If you had a website, you had your own website, put it on your own website, and then send it to people. Now you can put it up there and not even send it to anybody, and people find it.
Yeah.
As that next generation, that's a whole different world than people like me who used to carry around a CD or a tape of all my songs. So if I ran into someone, I was able to go check out my music.
Oh God. Well, yeah, pretty much how I get the following on SoundCloud that I have, even though it's not relatively big at all. You don't have to. Okay, let me just try to like gather what I'm trying to say here. So one person says something that, yeah, I made a song, and then other people will search for it and find it. There isn't the worry of having to worry about CDs. I mean, I guess I just don't know what to say. I'm just kind of losing my train of thought.
For people, you see.
Yeah, what's that?
It's just there for people.
Exactly.
I think the accessibility.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I think the accessibility is a big change. Is that now that SoundCloud is there and it's searchable 24/7, where it used to be that you'd be at DJ shows. We see the guys in the hallway handing out, hey, here's my disc, and they're handing them out. That's a world Michael will never experience and such. Michael, you had some songs on SoundCloud and such. Was that how the kids were finding you? And we were talking about streaming and that the kids are only consuming music via streaming. How did they find those songs? Because you guys made a song one night and it's like the next day you were talking to kids who were listening to it in school. How did they get that fast?
We told them.
But I mean, was it a SoundCloud thing that they consumed it there, or were you like emailing the MP3, or how did you distribute?
No. Okay, so Braden, the guy that I made the song with, he said we dropped the song and then people just found it. Like that's it. Like
okay.
We didn't have a link. We just said that we
label.
So they
none of that. Like I don't even think we said the title of the song. People just found it.
So they're that active and that knowledgeable at that young age on SoundCloud of how to utilize and find songs or what have you, which is better than what I could do because I couldn't find this song the same way.
My friend John down in Nashville, his daughter did one, and it actually got on Spotify, and he was having trouble finding it, and she had to be like, "Dad, it's just right there." But speaking of Spotify, I'm actually signed up for it because for those of you who don't follow the show, I used to travel as a vocal artist. I've put out 12 albums in my lifetime, and I just found out that Spotify is now going to start allow independent artists to put their songs on Spotify without a distribution or a record label that you have to pay and they make money off of. That I'm now, because it's still in the early stages, I'm signed up for it. So when they contact me, I will be able to upload my album or albums, whatever I choose to do, and it will be on Spotify for people to search. No record label, no nothing. If it gets thousands and thousands of listens, which I really doubt it will, but if it does, I get paid for that. That's the world of it too, where it's not a record label shoving this style down your throat and that style down your throat, which takes me to the next section of tonight. We're not just talking about streaming, but this I saw way back when people started downloading songs and the whole thing of online came about, to where you don't have to take what people are giving you and say, this is popular music, I can only play this. But it's gotten to a point where the record labels don't decide what you listen to. The people who listen to the stuff decide what the record labels give them. And the style of music has changed. And it isn't that rap music, hip hop, whatever you want to call it, has become more popular. I think it's always been that popular. But now that what's popular is in the hands of who's streaming and not what the record label is physically, I'm not kidding you, they physically pay radio stations back then to play a song. So if you had money, you could get play. Now you look at Macklemore, did not have a record label. Everyone loved his song. He got a hit. So that has changed the scene of music. So in January of 2018, if I were to ask the guys who are 30 or older, what do you think the number one style of music in the country is? What do you think they would say, John?
They would have probably said pop and use that as the generic term. You know, the what would be considered the CHR, the current hits radio format. That would be the most popular style of music.
Michael, what do you think people your age would say if you said what's the most popular style of music in the U.S. right now?
In the U.S., like in general, right now, like today?
Yeah.
That's pretty tricky. I know a lot of smaller towns, it's going to be country stuff, but I feel in general it's moving towards a more urban and genre like that.
You know what was prior to January 2018 the most biggest style? Rock. And you know what is now? Michael had it. Hip hop.
Hip hop.
It is by far the largest portion of style music in the country right now. And it takes me to where I've had this discussion with people and different things about the fact that people are saying there's no pop music anymore. Well, what is pop music, John? In my book, I'm going to be the middle between the both of you. John, you're probably going to say pop music is a style like Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, that's what they would refer to it as, and that comes from in these late 70s, early 80s when they started trying to define and categorize, and they referred to pop music as a genre. Today, it's not as much of I don't think it's as much of a genre because radio stations aren't defining music as pop music anymore. They're defining it as current hits radio, your adult contemporary, your urban tracks, your different things such as that.
Yeah. So Michael, then I know what my answer is going to be, but then if I went to you and said, what would you consider pop music? What kind of artist do you think you might label pop right now? And it can be a broad range if you feel it's a broad range.
I would say Kendrick Lamar, a lot of the bigger rappers, Drake. Definitely Drake, I would say.
Yeah. So, but many people over 25, John, over 30, would probably not consider Drake pop.
Oh, not a bit. He's he would be hip hop or a rapper.
Yeah.
More than a.
I had a friend of mine who is a DJ who I really thought kind of knew stuff. One day complained to me that I played too many Latin songs because I played a couple of Latin songs and then followed it up with Pitbull. Why are you playing another Latin song? I'm like, this is Pitbull. It's top 40. It's pop. Mm-hmm. No, it's not. It's Latin. And I was like, what the freak planet are you coming from? In my opinion, in the 80s, MTV, where did they put their rap at, John, in the 80s?
Boy. I'm not even sure. You just didn't see it. Yeah, I don't even know. I didn't get
MTV Raps. They did not allow rap music outside of that half-hour show.
That was it. Wow.
And then it became popular, and it started being on the thing. So the reason I wanted to look at this, that as we look at genres and people complain about pop, the stuff that you and I listened to when we were younger, and I'm trying to think of some artists that we could name, whether we could say Run DMC, whether we want to say like Bobby Brown or something like that. Michael Jackson was pop. Mm-hmm. The pop now is Drake. So in 10 or 20 years, the throwback pop music that you're going to be playing at weddings, whether you like it or not, is going to be Drake.
And you'll be playing the
Post Malone, right?
Of course, but then you'll be also playing the newest from Rolling Stones because they just released another album in 20 years.
They did, yeah. One of the things, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, that they did. It's from Wikipedia, and it's Billboard's hottest top 10 singles for 2018, and Cardi B is on almost all of them. Justin Timberlake was on one. There's Drake, again, Justin Timberlake, Kendrick Lamar, which I think is my opinion is one of the best lyricists right now. I love his way he flows, lyricist. Post Malone, Zed, which I'm going to say his name wrong. Triple Extension.
XXXTentacion. I think that's how it's pronounced.
Because it has the
it's got a weird pronunciation. People just say X.
Yeah. The Weeknd, Migos is on there. A little bit of Nicki. J. Cole is all over that. And most people would go, that's not pop, that's rap or hip hop.
Oh, yes.
But it's pop. This is what pop is. So as the older guys, again, I'm trying to bridge these gaps and trying to put the people together there. I want you to start thinking differently, because if you are having those 20-something brides, even though you do have, John, I'm going to say you do have to take care of mom and grandma in the music that you play at the wedding, but you can't hate and reject on a J. Cole or a Drake. Are you nowadays? You're going to have to accept that as part of the weddings too, aren't you, John?
Oh, for sure. That's the way it is. And the days of playing to parents and grandparents, what I started out with, they're now into the 70s is old music at a wedding. That's really old music at a wedding. You have
to think when let's say I was a teenager in the 80s. Gosh, I'm freaking old. And if you go music 40 years back, what was it? It was really old music, from, the 60s, 50s and 60s. Go think about how you felt about that if you were at a dance and the DJ played songs from the 50s and 60s when you were in the 80s, you'd have probably thrown something at them. And that's the same thing is here in the days, the newer kids wanting that. Someone in the chat room said, name a good recent pop song that you can dance to. By my definition, and this is where these two guys gave their definition of pop music, I'm going to name everything from Pitbull to a Drake, Kendrick Lamar. I'm going to put Bruno Mars in there. I'm going to talk about Post Malone. I'm going to talk about all these things. Cardi B. That's pop. So as this is kind of, again, what I'm trying to bridge the gap. The older guys, you can't say pop and have it be just a style now. Pop now means popular.
Yes. Yep. And it can cover so many bases.
That's kind of where I want to bridge that gap.
Which includes country. So when MJ is getting requests for pop music, he reaches for his country music.
But I have dance remixes of some of those that I play that the crowd goes, oh, I get so many people saying, oh, this is a great remix of this country song. And to me, it's almost on the style of like the Chainsmokers, which again, some people would say EDM. What would we call it? Pop. That's pop. It's not EDM. It's pop.
Yeah.
So that has become the new thing to where if it's popular, if it hits the charts, you now have to call it pop. So if Drake makes a song and it's on the urban charts and then it all of a sudden becomes a #1 hit on the pop charts, what is it now?
Pop
song.
Pretty much, yeah.
I just kind of want to get your mind around that. Now, the next one here is something that I kind of look at differently than most people, and it's the vinyl DJ, and that includes Serato vinyl, a DVS system, or the DJ using a controller, or like single units like the CDJs or the SC5000s. I hear so many younger DJs say the only reason they learn to spin on vinyl is so that the older club DJs will let them spin with them. And this is where I think the generation is going to split to where, Michael, have you had much experience on spinning with vinyl at all?
A little bit. At the expo, I was on some motorized platforms, but I wasn't really used to them at all, and I didn't really like the idea of getting used to them before I was about to perform. So I just stuck with the I don't know, static. How do you say what?
Yeah, the non-motorized. Yeah.
Okay.
Right,
non-motorized. So what
I'm trying to look at here is that if you were given a choice and no one was pressuring you, let's say you did get time to get used to the vinyl. Okay, no one was pressuring you, and they said you can spin on anything you want. Would you choose the DVS Serato or vinyl?
I would go with the. So you're asking motorized or non-motorized, pretty much. Motorized,
non-motorized. Basically, I'm looking at more the vinyl side, not the SC5000 motorized that we had to use at the expo, but like Serato with.
Like using. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that.
Let's say there was no pressure, because trust me, the club DJs will absolutely hate on you if you don't use them. That's flat. They just hate on you.
Yeah. Gosh, I like the idea of using vinyls, but I feel like just for what I do, I guess I just don't. Right now, I'm not experienced enough with it. But if I took the time to learn how to maneuver the vinyls around, I feel like I could do that and enjoy it, because it's just the idea of using vinyls instead of digital, and then just having the turntables. I feel like it'd just be more adding to the DJ, like that's what DJ, it's what DJs do. I feel like it's more stereotypical.
That's a good way to put that.
Yeah.
That is a very good way. Someone in the chat just mentioned the Rain 12s. I love them. And I'm telling you right now, I love controllers. I love the whole idea behind them. I started out on vinyl, on crappy turntables with actual vinyl, not Serato, actual vinyl. And using a controller makes so much more common sense to me than that.
Yeah.
I don't like that, but I tried the 72s out, the 12s out, and loved them. But they're almost as heavy. Pat, my friend of mine, DJ Pat, and I looked at the weight. The Techniques 1200s are 24 pounds. The 12s are 20 pounds. So you're still carrying 40 pounds of turntable, and then whatever the mixer cost, it weighs in the center. And for a lot of guys, that just doesn't make sense to lug all that around. But I think, in my opinion, as the next generation, Michael, as you move up, I think it's going to be more normal to use either a CDJ type device like the SC5000 that has motorized, or the 12 that has motorized, than the actual put the needle on the record Serato vinyl. Do you see that as being accepted by your generation, or are you guys just, like, we'll use whatever we like, or you go, I'm just going to use whatever the older guy uses? Or
I think that if I were to ever buy a controller, I would buy just the motorized, no, not the vinyl. It doesn't use vinyl. I think I'll just get the motorized, because I feel like that is the same kind of idea as the non-motorized, but just cooler.
Cooler. Thank you. Yeah.
Because it's the look of the vinyl with the technology of the non-motorized. It looks like it's legit.
Yeah. I like the motorized because it's something that's actually physically going on. And as my DJ class, it's a whole lot easier to teach someone to grab the record that turned a quarter inch and bring it back than to imagine it turned a quarter inch and bring it back.
Yeah.
A whole lot. It's just, as we as humans, things move forward, the pencil rolls across the table, we can grab it. Or imagine the pencil roll across the table. Where would it be? Your mind doesn't. So it kind of makes a lot more sense there. It's a strange thing, and I don't think there's ever going to be a proper answer for that. But I just kind of wanted to get your opinion on that. One more quick one here on the end when it comes to DJ education. I know we're almost out of time, John. A lot of people talk about the fact that nobody's going to expos anymore because they don't need to go to expos to learn. They can look online. How do you feel about that as a young person? With a father who's in the business.
Well, I guess when it came down to the education that I got, it was my dad saying, have fun, and he sent me behind the 8,000. But for education, I think that going to the expos and being at the conventions, I think that going to that is I feel like that's not something that you will regret as far as education, because I feel that the biggest learning curve I've had is when I went and spun for Denon, because after that, I can tell that I've just significantly improved. And I feel that if I would not have, I'd just be so much like at a lesser level. And it was the biggest learning curve I've ever had is going to the conventions, going to the expo.
John, as you see it change, where do you see the expos for the younger guys and the older guys, the ones that say, there's nothing at the expo, I can just go watch a video somewhere, which I'm going to be honest with you, I'm partially in that crew that go, I just go watch it online and learn how to do it.
For sure. I think that's the reality of this situation. If there isn't a reason for them to go to the education beyond just learning something, because you can learn it online, why bother? What they're going to go to expos and have that experience is they want to go network, and they want to have hands-on. They want to have hands-on experience with gear. And if you can provide those two, you're going to have a level of success. But that doesn't happen at all the different shows, because they go there and it's like, oh, Pioneer's not here, or Denon's not here, or whoever. And once they can't touch and feel, that is a limiting factor. But even with that being said, things like Amazon are going to change this, because there are things you can order from Amazon and you can get that and you can try it. And if you don't like it, Amazon picks it up and takes it right back. We're in a different world, and that's going to change. And you're going to find out that, Michael's generation of DJs coming up, there's going to be some like Michael who want to have an experience and want to have a look, and they want to have that, basically that aura of the DJ. And then you're going to have the others who are going to come in there and to be able to do a lot of the same things he does, but they're going to have strictly a laptop. They're not going to, I mean, you see some EDM DJs who don't use a controller or anything. They've got everything on a laptop, and all you do is they're mouse clicking the whole time. Putting on a great show. It's just different styles and different methodologies of achieving, to a point, a very similar end product, which is music for people to dance to.
Funny you mentioned that about the laptop. This is literally from Serato's post, that one I told you that came up right before the show. Stuff that for the new 2.1, it said advanced. Some of this is in addition to the new Serato, keep that in mind, Serato 2.1, advanced laptop only DJing options. So they're literally putting into their new software laptop only options, which that blows my mind. We're almost out of time. I got the final question that each of you can just give me your opinion on, and that's it. Who do I want to start with? I think I want to start with Michael, because this is the biggest bridge that I wanted to gap between the two ages.
All right.
What can an older DJ say to you to help you feel comfortable learning from them, not feel so intimidated, that if they genuinely wanted to mentor you and help you, what kind of things could they do to help reach you?
I guess
even don't do, you know.
I guess that's kind of tricky, because I don't think I've ever felt intimidated. Like when I was even calling with you before the expo, I didn't feel intimidated at all. I mean, I just kind of felt, I guess it wasn't that big of a deal to me. I guess I didn't think that people would feel intimidated, but I can see, thinking about it, how they would. I mean, because if you're talking to people that have been doing it for double-digit years, and then if you're trying to pick it up, I don't know. I guess I don't really know. I don't really know.
Okay. John, what do you think you could say that you maybe even heard other DJs say that was bad, that you like, oh, they shouldn't have said that to this younger guy. They maybe hurt his feelings, or, you know, because like the older guys, a lot of times are like, you don't know anything. I know everything. I've been doing this my whole life. But yet again, someone like Michael has experience of the things we talked about, the streaming, the motorized platters, all these things that a lot of older DJs maybe never even touched once in their life. I was talking to a DJ the other day who has an incredible wedding business. I'm talking huge, and has literally used to compete as a scratch DJ nationally, and didn't realize that his Rain 72 mixer had things like loop rolls and slicer and stuff like that built into it. Didn't even know it was there. So him talking down to someone, not knowing that it was right there in front of him. What kind of stuff have you heard or seen that you would like to say, hey guys, if you want to reach a younger DJ and help them, and what do you think have you seen, good or bad?
I think one of the first steps is that, as someone who's doesn't play with that kind of level of technology every day, is that we're going to learn things from younger DJs. Even though I know more things than Michael does, I have picked up some things from watching him mix and how he has approached things, because he's learning things in a different way than I learned when it came to this type of stuff. So for a more experienced is going into it as, not that I don't have all the answers. I have some answers. I have some thoughts, and I can ask a lot of questions. And that's probably something that I try to do more when it comes to this stuff, is asking questions, and especially if I do know the answer, and ask a question so that they can maybe come up to that ultimate answer themselves, or they find a solution themselves, and with a little guidance. So it isn't hey, I'm the smartest one, this is what you should do. It's more of like, check this out. See, what do you think of it? Will that work? Is that going to be, maybe go this direction? What do you think? Try these. Here's a few songs. Try to work with them and see what you can come up with. More of the coming alongside someone instead of being the one in front of them trying to be a school teacher.
Oh, that's good. I like that analogy. Mine is, and we'll kind of close with this. I've always said this, that a lot of older DJs think, oh, that younger guy needs to respect me. I've been doing this 30 years. Well, think when you were his age, how many people, if they would have come up and said to you, you need to respect me, I've been doing this 30 years, would you have actually stopped and respected them, or would you have said they're a jerk?
Yeah, pretty much the jerk, yeah.
The key, I think, is that if you truly want to reach the next generation and help and give back, be their friend before you're their mentor. Gain their respect by just being a nice person, a nice human being. And I think that the next generation would listen to that more than you just saying, no, I'm telling you, do it this way just because, in my opinion. I have so many younger DJs that will tell me, literally say, MJ, you're the only older DJ that will talk to me and answer my questions. Everybody else just says, figure it out for yourself like I did. And I hate that. I really it kind of irritates me. So if you're an older DJ and you know stuff, number one, don't act like you know everything and shove something down somebody's throat. Take your time and get to know the person and help them just like you would want to be helped. It is kind of my way of looking at it. I want this whole show to bridge the gap. The 90% of this show is about the mixed DJ. And that's what I want to try to do, is put together the two crowds, because you all are going to be living under the same roof as under the title DJ. So you've got to get along. And like, especially with the updates with Serato, I think that this is going to be, I think we're all living there. So we've got to get along. So
cool.
John, I'm going to let you take us out because we have more show. We have another show after this with some great stuff. But if you guys want to tune back in next week, I'll probably have the tables back up. I don't know what the topic's going to be. As always, send me stuff. The topics come from you guys. If you have any questions, hit me up offline. But John, go ahead and take us away.
Yeah, we've got one more show coming up tonight. Jeremy is in, and he's going to be joined by Glenn McKay from Australia, and they're going to be coming on here in about 10 minutes. I don't have the link on my Facebook page like I typically do, so what you're going to need to do is go out to youtube.com/discjockeynews and do a refresh in about 4 minutes, and by then that new player should be up and running, and then you guys can jump in and join us for that. They're going to be talking about... I can't remember.
Ozzy.
Yeah.
Oi.
No. It was a time management. Oh goodness. They actually had kind of a
go and look, won't they?
Yeah, you're gonna have to go and look because it will be up and available here in just a few minutes. But yeah, I don't goal setting. There we go. Goal setting with your business. That's what they were talking about. Which I thought was kind of a neat idea, because for those of you who know Glenn and Miranda, they have really taken out their DJ business to a completely new level in their market down there, and it's been really cool to watch. And a lot of that is because of goal setting and being ambitious to get and reach those goals. So that'll be coming up here next. Thank you guys for being with us. MJ, Michael, thank you very much. Everyone, we'll be back in about 5.